Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? We didn't ask that question when we were going around. Hope everybody's doing well. And thank you. We honestly thought we weren't going to have a huge group today, so we're very glad that you're here since this is the last meeting of the year. And I know everybody's busy getting ready for, wrapping up projects and all of that. So thank you. We often say this. We think that time is without a doubt the most valuable thing we've got. And really appreciate you spending your time with us. And we do hope that this is a conversation that will continue long after we leave, that these connections are ones that change people's lives and really can make the difference. That is transformational in the lives of people that we work with. And so we mean that when we say that. We want you to be in touch with us. And so we'll be doing more, giving you more information about how to keep in touch with us, how to keep the conversation going. I am Carolyn Phillips. I am the director of Tools for Life. I have been on April 15th, I will have been with the program for 20 years. I've been in this field for about 26 years, which is longer than a lot of you have been alive. And then I've got Liz right here with me.
Yes, I'm the training coordinator with Tools for Life. I've been with the program since I was a baby. I interned when I graduated from Georgia State in 2002, and I've been on ever since, and luckily they love me so much they're not going to let me go.
That's right. Never.
And I'm sort of kind of still new, but not really. I've been with Tools for Life about a year and a half almost. Time's flying. But my background is actually occupational therapy. I've worked in hospital and rehab settings for many, many years. I won't tell you how many years. I'm just really excited to be part of the team now, working with especially the aging population, but also, all the ages and all disabilities, and really we'll do assessments and really some really great opportunities for folks to help them be as independent as possible and safe at the same time.
This presentation really came together from a lot of different sources, and you are getting the very scaled, I think it's the shortest one we've ever done on this topic. We have about 30 plus minutes to do this talk, and we have done this talk over 2 days. so you are going to get the, not just Cliff's version, but actually the Rachel, Carolyn, and Liz really quick version of this. All of our materials, though, are on our website. And you can grab this presentation. You've already put it up, haven't you, Speedy? Yes. And so on our wiki, when you go to the wiki, you'll find a bunch of other resources. Our website really is a solution site. It's not just a, hey, we're doing a great job site. We really want folks to get an idea of real solutions and resources and know that that's a lot of what we do. I put this up here not thinking that you're going to read it really, but more as a marker to let you know that really what we're going to be talking about are some of the trends in technology. We're going to be talking about Tools for Life specifically and the resources that we provide. We're going to be talking about also, so what are some of those apps that you might want to keep your eye on? What are some of those things you might want to consider? What things are working and what things perhaps are not. And so we'll be doing that in various ways. Often what we do when we do these talks is we dive into one area. So for example, we may look just at gaming. We might just do a whole talk on environmental control. Might do a whole talk just on memory aids. So know that we're really doing here's just a scattering of different solutions that are out there. We're housed within the College of Architecture here at Georgia Tech under AMAC, which is all about solutions and research. And we provide a lot of services when it comes to Braille production. How many people have actually been over to see us on site? Good. So maybe half of the folks that you have. The other folks, come on over and we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's worth seeing though, because you can see that we actually practice what we teach when it comes to accessibility. We practice what we teach when it comes to 508 compliance and the ADA. And we also get a lot done, which is great when it comes to real-time captioning, accessibility solutions, assistive technology. We have a lab that has well over 10,000 different types of solutions that you can borrow. And a lot of your peers borrow those solutions and try things out. Some of the folks from Simple C have come over and borrowed stuff, as well as some of the students on campus, which is awesome. So we definitely mean that. This is our mission.
So this is our mission, yay. And in a nutshell, basically what it says is that we're here to work with individuals of all ages and all disabilities. That's one of the reasons why I love my job, because we can work with little babies all the way up to older adults that are transitioning, out of nursing homes, living independently, folks that just want to age in place, as Carolyn had mentioned earlier. And it's all areas of life, which I absolutely love. Somebody can give us a call and say, hey, we want to be more independent in the playground, or I just want to get out of my house and get to the mailbox and get my mail on my own and not rely on others. And we're definitely there to help them out, and absolutely in the communities of their choice. It's all about access to and acquisition of assistive technology. So we're not just going to say, here's a few communication devices, there you go, good luck on your own. So it's Danny's job. We all talk about funding, but it's Danny's job to come on in at that point and work his magic and talk to folks about what funding is available out there. And he's absolutely amazing when it comes to toggling those resources and making sure that individuals are spending the least amount of money possible to get the AT that they need.
And we do mean this when we're talking about living, learning, working, playing in communities of choice. And that is a mission statement that was actually written by our advisory council. We have a very dynamic, active advisory council. If any of you are interested in coming to one of our meetings, you're more than welcome. It's an open forum and really active group. And that is based on the law. The Assistive Technology Act law came into play well before the Americans with Disabilities Act. A lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people have seen this language that defines what assistive technology is. Basically, it's anything that improves function, right? And it could be something that you fabricate, it could be something that you buy off the shelf. It could pretty much be anything that improves function or helps you maintain functional abilities. That definition actually came from the Assistive Technology Act. I was in Washington, D.C. We were working on some legislation when it comes to just a small piece of it when it came to the assistive technology piece. And sure enough, that's what they wanted to grab again. And so is from the Assistive Technology Act. There's an AT Act in every state and territory, so there's 56 of us around the country. And a lot of us build on those services. So we do a lot of fee-for-service work. We do a lot when it comes to helping people, as we said, borrow equipment, try before you buy. We do beta testing, which is great. We also have access to a lot of folks that need assistive technology and a lot of folks that have benefited from that. So we end up having this really nice and very healthy relationship with research participants. So we're often helping people find those specific research participants. We do training and demonstrations, so sitting down one-on-one with folks and saying, all right, you're interested in a tablet. Do you even know what tablet? What's your price range? What are we thinking about? What features do you need? What accommodations do you need? What are you going to be using this for? And we ask those very purposeful questions so that we can have a very focused and purposeful conversation. We lead the country in the area of demonstrations, but also in the area of assistive technology reuse. So much so that we were actually in 2006 granted the Pass It On Center grant. It's a grant that actually came down through the Department of Education, where we have set standards, which is great. And RESNA, the Rehabilitation Engineering Society of North America, contracts with us actually to continue the Pass It On Center, which is awesome. And we do a lot when it comes to funding and all of that. Our total reach, when you look at not just, you came to our website, actually we don't even have those numbers up here. Well, actually we do, we have 5,000 a month. But when you're looking at who we actually worked with throughout our network, it's over 50,000 Georgians that have come through our door, whether it's the door down at Coastal, down in the lab down there in Darien, or it's somebody that we're working with perhaps in Augusta or in Columbus or in Macon. So a wide reach and a wide range. So assistive technology acquisition, you said it very well, Liz, that we don't want to say, gosh, aren't these great solutions? We want to actually say, these are great solutions and here's how you can afford them. And so we have several tools that help with that. Our dollars and cents guide has been replicated in other states. Actually, Oklahoma said, can we have the whole guide and we're just going to plug in Oklahoma stuff? And I was like, sure. And so this is an online guide. It is a living document in that we actively update it. That's part of what Danny is doing. And he is our point person when it comes to making sure that folks can acquire technology. We have a credit-able program, which is an alternative financing program, low interest loans. Right now, the most that you can get from us right now is about $5,000. Used to be upwards of $80,000. So we're looking for capital. If you have folks that have an interest in helping people fund assistive technology, let us know. We're actively looking for that. I love this, it's making independence affordable is the tagline that we have for that program. And then we also have a co-op, a very active co-op, one of the most active in the United States, in helping people buy collectively assistive technology and getting that price down. So that everybody can afford it, which is awesome. And happy to talk to you a whole lot more about that. But the main point is that we want all these cool technologies that are out there, that are being developed, for people to have access to them. We don't want those things sitting, on a shelf somewhere. We want them to be used. And so just know that we're here and we mean that when we're talking about those things.
So this is our network. The 5 of us here in the room, plus Martha Russ, our other HT specialist, we can't serve all of Georgia. Believe it or not, we're pretty cool, but it's kind of hard to get all that done. Yeah. So it's amazing to see. This is a map of Georgia with all of the counties, and you can see how our network is growing. It's color-coded. We've got the red stars there in the middle, and there's one over to Augusta. That represents kind of our main Tools for Life network, if you will. So we've got our office here at Georgia Tech, Credit Able, FODAC, Friends of Disabled Adults and Children in Stone Mountain, and then we've got some centers in Augusta, and then of course in Macon. And then the blue stars over here in the bottom right, down in the eastern part of the state, are our outreach centers, and we're expanding what we're doing when it comes to outreach of assistive technology. It's our goal that no one has to travel more than an hour to be able to try out some assistive technology, to at least have a better understanding of what's available out there. We've recently partnered with the Centers for Independent Living, so those are all of the green stars that you see right now, and they are our community partners. And so what we've done is worked with each one of them and set them up with an assistive technology toolkit. So it literally is this big bin, kind of this huge little Tupperware looking bin, with all different types of assistive technology devices in there. And it's a range of low tech to, middle tech, kind of easing towards that high tech. And again, it's just something that they can set up in the center, so as individuals are coming in to visit, they can see what's available out there when it comes to AT. So this is what we've got going on, and we're definitely growing, and we're really excited about it. So we've got lots of great things happening on our website, including our webinars. We do a lot when it comes to professional development. So when you are visiting our website, please check out our webinar schedule. The schedule is empty right now, but we've got tons of archives, and we'll be building that schedule up for 2016 in the new year. Our webinars happen anywhere from 1 time a month upwards to 3 to 4 times a month. So we stay very busy when it comes to delivering that really and truly across the country. We also offer CEUs and CRCs for anybody who's interested in getting those accreditations for our webinars. So definitely check us out. And this is our lovely website, all sorts of great information. Over here on the right, you can see where we've got active events going on, our webinars. We have our app finder, lots of information when it comes to funding. And then over on the left-hand side, training information, meeting our team. And then there on the bottom left is schedule a tour. So you can go to our website and make an appointment to come and visit with us. And we will definitely take you around, show you the lab, and show you some of the other operations happening at AMAC Accessibility.
Thank you, Liz. Yes, absolutely. We know that assistive technology really does help. It helps people age in place. It helps people stay independent. We find that often what we're doing is going in and helping in very targeted ways. How can I manage my medication? How can I change the channels on my TV? How can I use my voice to change the temperature? Those types of things. How can I get in my home? How can I get out of my home? How can I have more than 2 ways to get, or more than 1 way to get in and out of my home? Those types of things, and basically looking at that. So whether it's speaking or hearing, seeing, moving around, getting places, what have you, memory, cognition, Socializing, another area that we actually help a lot with. And then, of course, all of those daily living activities and trying to make sure that folks can be as independent as possible. We often are working with people who are personal attendants or caregivers and trying to say, okay, how can we make it so this person can be a little bit more independent? Everything that we can help one person do more independently, then that alleviates that stress for somebody else. And there are times that we walk in and we can see that the family's already in a crisis mode. They're on the fast track, is what we call that: frustration, anxiety, stress, and tension. And so we're even sitting down and working with the family members and saying, all right, let's get off this track because this is a bad track. And so how can we help make everybody successful, if you will? We also pay a lot of attention to the trends. When we're doing the longer talk, I usually do a little session, just a little snippet here about the transition of time and how assistive technology has changed over time. When I was first introduced to voice input, basically voice recognition, drag and dictate, 1987, I'm at the University of Georgia. How much do you think it cost at that point?
$12,000.
Good guess, good guess. No, it was $25,000, $26,000. I know, right? But we could see at that point that this was something that was really going to be transformational for everybody. We could see back there in 1987 that this was something that everybody would use. And we would say, well, one day people are going to be using their voice for everything. And even in this room this morning, I saw several of you like, leave a little note, to yourself with your voice, or send a text with your voice, or what have you. Once again, an idea that was born out of need, born out of the disability community, and it's something that we're using in mass. With whether you're using it with Echo, saying, Alexa, tell me, play my favorite music, or what's the temperature? What should I wear today? Do I look nice? To sending a memo, writing your will, any number of things, and telling your story, those types of things. I also talk about how technology has changed. I really do remember those days, and I don't know if anybody else in here remembers when cell phones were really the size of toddlers, and we were like carrying around cell phones and going, I have a cell phone, I can't carry it, but it's awesome, And now they're so tiny, which is amazing. And we really do carry around, technology in our pockets that's transformational. The thing that I really like is the convergence. No doubt we're seeing in the future, we're going to continue to see convergence. Some of the beta testing, some of the companies that we're working with, we're seeing more of that. We're seeing more integration. We're seeing more intuition and universal design principles truly at the very beginning brought in, which is great. And so that's all very helpful. We're really finding that the future is contextual, right? And that a lot of what's happening as we navigate our world is coming together, and we're using GPS, and we're using beacons, and we're using other technologies so that we can make more informed decisions about just how we navigate the world, which is cool. Whether it's a smartwatch, which, by the way, there's over 500,000 people that bought the first smartwatches that are out there, including Danny, including Ben, who have these smartwatches, and they really are smart, which is great. But we're seeing how that technology, that GPS, can help in other technologies. This is not an app I would recommend that you buy. It's called Locabulary, not because it's a bad app. It's very expensive. It's $130 for the professional version. But what it does is something that we're seeing a lot of technologies do, which is incredibly important. My daughter uses an AAC device, so Augmentative Alternative Communication Device, AAC, to navigate her world. The problem is that people are not patient. I teach AAC at the University of Georgia. I have graduate students, master's and doctorate level students. And one of the big problems with integration is that people are not patient when it comes to conversation. So having an app like this that is connected to GPS that instantly pulls up your communication board is incredibly important. That has word prediction built in, so that when you go to Starbucks, as my daughter does, the first thing that pops up is her board that has to do with, I want a pop, and I want this little pop thing. It's one of her favorite little treats, and I want hot chocolate without the whipped cream. Comes up immediately, which is very helpful. She even has the name of the person who usually helps her, which is great, and it personalizes it. Same thing in school. Her school's big enough that she can navigate the school and say, I'm going to PE, and those boards come up, which is very helpful. Or when she goes to We go to church. When she goes to church, those come up. When she goes to the theater, it's like, oh, I see you're at the theater. Do you want to buy tickets? And so she can instantly say, I want these tickets, these movie tickets. All of that helps because I don't have to translate, right? That's Mira being independent. This type of technology could help somebody age in place very well. When they go to the doctor, it's their voice, right? It instantly would know, oh, you're at the doctor. Here's your board. Here are some things that could help you remember what you talked about last. Those types of technologies can be transformational when we're talking about really quality of life.
So when it comes to quality of life and accessing your world, we do a lot of folks, obviously, with a range of disabilities, and some folks that have minimal movement. And some of the ways that they can access their world is by using switches. This slide up here shows Adaptive Switch Laboratories, or ASL as we taught them. They're good friends of ours that are located out in Texas, but they have really kind of the up on the market when it comes to different switches that are available out there. So, for example, I have a number of different switches on my wheelchair that I press to control different functions. So I can elevate, I can tilt my chair, I can recline, I can raise my feet up. Again, at my computer, different switches to access the computer, even switches to access certain tablets, to access, controls for automation and home, environmental controls and things like that. So it's really interesting and really cool just to see how that technology is really changing out there. Some of the first switches I had were at the time, were not difficult, but very difficult to really press. And if you look at it now, how switches have evolved, you can blink your eye, you can literally wiggle your eyebrow. There are some switches that you barely press down on and all of a sudden things are happening for you, which is really, really incredible. So now all of a sudden, which we always say, if somebody can have the slightest movement, if they can access their computer, then what? They can essentially access their entire world, which is really incredible.
It really is. I was this weekend at a wedding, and I was talking with somebody who's older that has Parkinson's, and he's like, oh gosh, I'm not, can't do anything. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do anything? You ended up at this wedding, you've got clothes on? He said, this is something, you did something to get here. And, and he's still able to feed himself, but he can see that that's going to change down the road. And he's just like, oh gosh, And so I ended up talking to him at this wedding for about 45 minutes, because that's what we end up doing, right, on our Tools for Life team, is it's constant public awareness and technical assistance in our daily lives. And so I was just explaining to him some things, just even some things that he could do on his phone. And I happened to have in my trunk a switch kit. And I was like, I'll be right back. So, yes. And so, so I walk in, and I'm like, okay, let's set up some things, and I'll show you how to turn this light on and off, just using, a beam of light, yes. And the cool thing is that he is sitting there, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can see what you're saying. And his wife was so relieved. And she said, I thought it was going to be time for him to go to the nursing home. And I said, you know what? I hope we can get to that point where it's never time. If you don't want to go to the nursing home, that it's never time to go to the nursing home. That it's always time to age in place, and that we can come up with these solutions. And so, yay! I'll put that in our database when we get back.
Another really cool, just empowering kind of moment that I experienced too is working with somebody with ALS. They're pretty much, this one person in particular, totally dependent, has his caregiver actually, doing his email, checking Facebook so he could stay on top of what's going on in his kid's world and everything. And we got him hooked up with an eye gaze system and opened up his world so he can check his own stock market and get on Facebook and write emails and control his TV and do all these things. And to see somebody's face just light up, like I thought I would not be able to do, anything, and all of a sudden now he's able to have control about his environment and his world again. It was like goosebump moment. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh. So what we're trying to do is stay on top of the emerging types of technologies, and again try to, be able to have people be independent and have dignity and all that kind of wonderful things that we all really enjoy. One of the things that we're actually about to get in our lab that we're going to try out is this Bestic feeder, where instead of a caregiver having to feed somebody, having the ability to actually feed yourself. This is actually motorized, has different settings. It will actually scoop your food up and actually feed you so that you're independent again, and then you can actually enjoy your meal with your loved one or your caregiver and have a conversation and be able to essentially feed yourself. which is super important. And I love the design of it too. There's some really big, chunky kinds of devices out there that just screams, I have a disability, or I have, difficulties. And to me, this is sleek and, really cool, and it just kind of blends in, and I just love this piece of technology. So pretty soon we're going to get it in our lab, so if you have anybody, let us know, and we'd love to try to show it to you and try it out and see if it works for that.
One of the cool things about this is that it changes all of a sudden the dynamic from this, I'm taking care of you, to all of a sudden I'm your dinner companion again, right? And so that's nice. And that transformation is so big when it comes to looking at social and psychological unhappiness and all of that. So paying attention to that. How many people have seen these vests out there? A lot of people are familiar with them because in the school system they use them often. They're weighted vests, if you will, and they've been used in different ways. But this is actually a different take on that. And do you want to talk about this, or would you like me to?
Sure. It provides extra like a snug, like somebody's giving you a nice squeeze, hug, and for somebody that might have some anxieties, whether you're young or older, just an extra bit of a snug, if you will, gives more comfort, releases some endorphins, and just relaxes the individual. It operates with, there's a pump, and with an app you can actually control how much it inflates and then deflates. So through the day, if you have a test, or you're in school and you're a kid, you can inflate it if you're about to have a test. I know this is finals week for my daughter; she could probably benefit. It's one of those things that again can help just decrease some of that anxiety and feel better.
So we were out at a event, public awareness event, and we're talking about this. We have that out there, the snug vest. A man comes up to me with his wife, and his wife has a lot of anxiety, and they're in their 70s. And he said, I just don't know what to do. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm stressed out all the time. As I'm aging, I'm getting even more stressed out. Medication's not totally touching it. So they actually went out and they bought this. They were like, oh, I'm going to buy this. And I was like, well, let me know how it goes. And sure enough, it has alleviated a lot of her stress. But what's really cool is it gives analytics in the background. It says how tight did she need it, what times did she need it, and that has been good information because it's helped figure out, well, what's going on at 4 in the morning, what's going on at 5 in the afternoon, what's going on at 10:30, and we were able to address things from a different side. If you're just wearing a vest and you're inflating it and deflating it or what have you, we don't know. Which is, what's really happening unless it has those analytics behind it. So very, very cool. And she feels like it's been, once again, not to overuse the word, but transformational for her. It's alleviated a lot of her stress, which is cool. So very helpful. Yes, Rick?
Yeah, Carolyn, just as a frame of reference on the jacket and domestic theater, what's the cost of something like that?
So I'm often telling our students when they come through the lab that one of the things they really need to focus on, perhaps as they're thinking about designing technology, is feeders, right? It's hard to find a quality feeder for less than $6,000. It really is. And how much is that Vestic feeder?
It's about 3 or 4.
So this is already bringing down the cost, which is awesome. I also honestly like the design. I think it's kind of sexy, actually, when we're talking about design. As Rachel was talking about this in the past, it really has been, these big bulky things that you couldn't take to a restaurant or what have you. So $3,000 we're celebrating, but $3,000 is still out of reach for a lot of people. So, and then the vest.
But then when you're talking about a caregiver,
yes,
you're paying somebody to actually provide that opportunity 3 times, 4 times a day, or however much. Those costs too add up. So,
yes.
I was going to show you.
How much for the vest?
Oh.
And we will get back with you about how much for the vest. So.
I was going to show also, this is the liftware spoon for somebody who might have a tremor, maybe from Parkinson's or maybe stroke or brain injury or whatever. This actually has a calibration in it that for somebody that has the tremors, as you're trying to feed yourself, it calibrates to that individual so that you're not spilling half of the food off of the utensil and hopefully landing into your mouth. This is still very pricey, so it's one of those things that we would like for somebody to try out first before they buy it, but it's supposed to be very helpful.
How much is that? Is it more than the theater?
This one? No, this is
That's like,
$200.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's like $300 or $400.
Yes, but people are like, oh my gosh, that's, you know, an expensive spoon. And I'm like, yes, but the benefit of that can be tremendous. Once again, as we're talking about aging in place and taking the stress off of people. Two interesting things about this. One, I've seen people actually start to adapt this because they thought it was so helpful. So I've seen forks pop out of here, out of this, you know, that have been like fabricated. But believe it or not, a paintbrush. There was an artist who changed that and attached some of her brushes to it. And she said, I haven't been able to paint in about 13 years, and now she can paint again. So which is very cool. We keep in touch with a lot of the companies, so I shot that example over to the Liftwear folks. The other trend to pay attention to is a lot of these little, you know, technologies are being bought by huge companies. This one, actually, they bought this this hardware specifically, primarily because they really wanted the folks, the team behind it. And so if you're paying attention to Google, for example, Google is all about trying to change the way we age. And a lot of those technologies are being bought through them, which is great. So we're starting to see this reappear. Yes?
I'm just looking up the prices.
Thank you.
Here, talking about them. The Liftwear is $195
Yay,
right
it's
now.
come down.
And then the Vestic Feeder, they do financing. So for 12 months, it's $303 a month, which puts it at about $3,600. And I'm about to look up the TJ.
Thank you, Ben. Ben on the spot. That's great. All right. Echo.
I love Amazon Echo. So who has an Echo that's in the room? Yay, lots of hands going up. That's awesome. So this one came out, I guess, just a few months ago. And Amazon Echo is a speech-controlled speaker system. So it's basically, oh, and we have it right here on the table.
We'll pass it.
Yeah. So there's the device right there, and that's all it is. It gets plugged in, it's connected to your Wi-Fi, and you can ask Echo. It responds by the name Alexa. Alexa, what's the weather today? This morning, I think Ben was like, Alexa, what's our commute into the office? Because it knows where we are and knows where we're going, and it'll tell you, Alexa, play whatever song you like. What's my news brief for today? And it'll pull together all sorts of news information, which is really incredible. And now, if you go to the Amazon website, when you're purchasing Echo, there's all sorts of accessories on the side that people are using now to connect it to home automation to turn lights on and off and open and close doors and do all sorts of cool things. So
We're very excited about where this technology is headed. Don't get too attached to that look and that size and all of that, because this is really more about the software, the mind, the engine behind it, as opposed to that hardware. A lot of people are like, okay, it's all in here, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's all in the cloud, and they're like, can I buy the cloud? And I'm like, no. You cannot buy the cloud. You can, you know, it's abstract concepts.
I'm going to add one more thing. I have one at home as well, and I get updates every week. There's something new that it's able to do. One of the really cool things that I love about it is you can set reminders on it. So remind me to take my medicine. Remind me to, bring a muffin pan for Carolyn because she's going to bake cookies or whatever.
Is she?
Well, Martha. So you can ask it to remind you for future appointments. The other thing too is, like I said, it keeps updating the capability. So you can program your Christmas lights, so that it's not on all the time. Just really, really cool apps for it.
yeah, one of the things that I love is I don't project very well the nature of my disability. I'm just fairly quiet, and so and so I can be sitting in bed, and the way we have Alexa set up in our bedroom, I can be very quiet and she'll hear me, which is really great. So, and I can use her all times of the day, which I really love.
The way I've used it most recently with somebody who's aging in place is there's a person that I actually know who's about my age, and she has parents that are aging. And they want to live at home. And so she was like, woo, I'm going to buy surveillance cameras. I'm going to put them everywhere and all this. I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. And so we were talking. I said, I bet Alexa could help us with this, because her parents are, they're adopters to technology. They were like, oh, cool. They had been over and had seen that, and they were like instantly like, tell me a joke, Alexa, tell me a joke. Alexa, tell me the news. Alexa. I mean, it was like very, very like quick win. very intuitive. And so sure enough, she asked if it was okay if she actually got them one of these, and that, you know, if they could, when they get up, just say Alexa something, and then, you know, and then what that does is it shares information with her, and she gets a bing that, oh, my parents are up because they're asking Alexa questions, and it just is this sense of calm, right? She doesn't have to have cameras everywhere and say, what are you doing? I'm going to watch everything you're doing. And so she can see throughout the day kind of the pattern of the day, you know. It can also you can do list, and that's the thing that's really helped them, because they say, Alexa, remind me to get this and this and this at the store, which is really, you know, hey daughter, get these things at the store and bring it over, because it gives her a list. And so she swings by the store, gets those things, and then she's like, oh, here's the stuff you need, which is awesome. And so using that technology as a way of easing tension, it's an entertainment thing, it's a conversation piece, but it also is a way to help this daughter, you know, not feel as stressed out, because she can get an idea as to, oh, my parents got up at this time, they turned on NPR at that time, here's what's on their list, they went to bed at this time. She's also been able to tell, though, that there's been some sleep disruption, because they'll ask questions like in the middle of the night, and she's like, what's going on that they're not sleeping, and then she can have a conversation about that. So that's very, very helpful. There's so many tablets out there. How many tablets do you think are out there, by the way? Just take a guess. Different types. 3. Great job, Ben, considering you're our lead for this. There's over 14,000 different types of tablets out there, but thank you for participating. And so the thing we want to encourage, though, is that people get what it is they need, and they consider accessibility, that they're thinking about various types of you know, technologies and what really works best. We find that a lot of people will just go out and buy whatever, and we're like, nope, that's not quite what you need. So, you know, thinking those things through. Also, we're finding that companies are listening as they design technology, software, what have you. This whole thing that Apple did when they released iOS 8, now we're not on iOS 8, it's moved on to 9 and plus. But they actually introduced their smartest keyboard, which included word prediction, which is something that I have used as a person with dyslexia for about 25 years. Word prediction has been the thing. So once again, came out of the disability community and is now mainstream. And a lot of people are using this. And it's funny hearing, once again, in mainstream communities, people are like, I have the coolest keyboard, and it remembers what I say. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. It's 25 years old, but yay that you're using that. Reminders. A lot of times people don't even know what's built in. And so having those reminders and how you can actually share that with other folks, if you wanted to share that, so that as you're aging in place, that once again, you can, you know, use this and send those reminders out. By the way that this word prediction that I've used it with some folks that have memory-related disabilities is it moves the conversation forward. So because it gives you some other options of things to say next. It's gathering information in a big way and saying, okay, so whenever I say sweet, then dreams is going to be the next thing that's going to pop up. And then there could also be other sweets like sweet, you know. Yes, thank you. I appreciate the interaction. Yes, too. And yeah, so ever onward. But it's nice because it moves things forward. Actually, Ben has turned me on and a lot of other folks on to Google Now and how that can help a lot of our folks that are aging when it comes to being able to network a lot of things, emails, notifications into a calendar that can be a shared calendar. It can really help keep somebody on track and also give directions and all of those things. So there's a lot of mainstream technologies, once again, trends that we want to pay attention to. Lots of apps that are out there. But this one, Rapid SOS, this one-touch 911, it's very, very cool because, and I've seen that it actually does help. One of the biggest reasons why people are like, oh, I don't want my person to, you know, be at home by themselves, is it's safety, right? But if we can look at the things that are out there and say, okay, what is at our fingertips? This app actually gives your information to the closest local first responders, which is very, very helpful. And it can also alert any number of things, like even if you can't speak, what have you, which is great. You can also put other information in there. And I encourage, and when we're doing trainings, we're often encouraging people to get to know their local responders before anything happens. I did that with my parents, and they totally, you know, when that ice storm came, They showed up at my parents' door and they were like, "Are y'all okay?" Yeah, which was great, and it's because we had a relationship. Yes, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt, but is that voice activated as well if like you can't reach it?
So-
Can you activate it?
We can check on that. There's so many out there. This is just a conversation piece for us. But yes, there's so many out there. There's actually one that's been developed by the Division of Aging Services here in Georgia, where if you don't respond to it, like let's say you leave your phone up on Chester drawers, bless you, and you're down on the ground and you can't get up after a certain amount of time, if you do not respond to it, then it'll actually send a message that you need help. So it works the other way also. And then with the newest operating systems, and Ben can give us even more information about this, where it's always listening. So you could use your voice, which is nice. So paying attention to those things. How many people have seen this? Ariana? Okay, so Ariana is another one of those cool apps that's out there that allows for indoor navigation. A lot of times we've got GPS that works outside, but we don't have anything for indoor. And you can actually put tape on the ground or what have you. My aunt said there's no way she would allow tape on her ground in her house. And she has some vision-related disabilities. And so what we actually did is use infrared because it doesn't show, but you can still use it that way. And basically what it does is you hold your device, and as you're walking, it'll actually give you information about, hey, you're on track or you're not on track. It'll vibrate to give you, you need to move to the left or to the right. You can also use it in tandem with the QR codes, and then it'll give you information. So if you were in a public space, as for example over at our office, it could say, here's the water fountain or what have you, which is incredibly helpful for those of us that need some more support. Danny and I were talking about doing something like this for our office, and so soon we'll be able to say, come to our office and try it out. So, tap to see or tap see. Once again, a lot of times people are like, oh gosh, the person's not eating because they don't know what's in their cabinet or what have you. Whether they have a memory-related disability or it's vision, or it could be both. Basically, you just take a picture of it and it'll tell you, at any angle, it'll tell you, oh, this is what this product is, and it'll even help you. It could bring up directions of how you cook it and all of that stuff. The nice thing is once again, you can get some analytics as to, are they even looking at the food? Are they taking a picture of the food? What's happening? And it gives you more information when it comes to having a dialogue.
I just want to give a quick shout out to TapTapC. It's a really, really good app. And it's eerily accurate.
It is eerily accurate.
So I've played around with it quite a bit. One time I was sitting outside and I just accidentally took a picture of the back door, and it came back in a couple of seconds. It was like, exterior back door, lights on inside. So, I mean, it was really accurate. So it's really affordable. You get 10 free pictures, and then when you buy bundles, it's not very expensive. So just wanted to.
Thank you, Danny. Yes, I appreciate it. Pixie, how many people have seen this? Yes. Do you use it?
No, I haven't used it yet.
Okay, are you going to use it?
Yes.
You'll have to come talk to us about it.
Okay.
Because I think it's really cool. A lot of times what we're finding is that folks lose stuff. Anybody in here ever lose anything? And so, yes, me too, right? And it's one of those things that, if we can take frustrations off of people's lives and keep them off the fast track, then that's good. And so once again, using this with folks as they age in place so that they can actually have a map of where everything is when it comes to digital in their life. And there's once again, a person I was working with that was like, I can't find my charger, repeatedly couldn't find the charger. So then the technology would go down. So some of the other solutions, the environmental control solutions, were not working because the battery dies. So we actually use this, and now they can actually say, here's my charger. And that alleviated that problem. So sometimes it's like putting a couple of solutions together to make it so that the other solutions work. So this is just one that's out there. Talk It. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I will talk about Talk It. Or do you want to? Okay, so Talk It's actually really, really cool. So basically what happens is if somebody has language that's really difficult for others to understand for any reason at all, Talk It will actually translate it into understandable speech. And the only way I could really say, you got to check it out. So you've got to go to the website, look at the video, but it's pretty incredible just to see the examples up there of individuals that I think all of us on Tools for Life, we're kind of used to working with folks, that have some speech difficulties. But, if they're in a loud area, or if they're going to a restaurant trying to order, food, or just, out and about, or just communicating one-on-one with someone that really has some difficulty understanding them, this could be a game changer, which is really cool. So.
And it goes back to that socialization. A lot of times this has been a barrier. You'll find that people stop talking as much. There was an older man that I was working with who had a stroke. I showed him this video so that he could see, here's what's coming out, here's what what's going to be happening. And he was amazed at the potential, and because this hasn't been fully funded yet. I mean, it's been funded, it's not out on the market yet. But he's like, oh my gosh, and he got all teary. He said, I can finally talk again to people. Because right now he doesn't talk because he feels like his voice is funny, and it's hard to understand. So it's exciting. Beacon technology, once again, looking at locations and having them make sense, whether you're in an assisted living place and it's saying, okay, here's the beacon for the music room, here's the beacon for the garden, here's the beacon, and having that make some sense in context can be incredibly helpful. Helping people tell their story. iMovie is an oldie but a goodie, and being able to tell your story in a way that you can then make really fun and be able to introduce other folks to this. There's a person that I'm working with who is a lot older. I think she just turned 93. And she creates iMovies all the time for her grandchildren, and tells the story, and she's able to import pictures, and it's very simple, which is great. Tells the story of their family, and we can also save those, which is great. So once again, thinking about socialization. SkyGrid is another app that's out there, and I like this one because you can customize the news. There was a person that I was working with who is in their late 80s. And they were getting depressed all the time because they kept looking at CNN thinking that's the only source of news, and there's always breaking news of some bomb or something. So what we were able to do is say, okay, well, what's interesting to you? And so we customized it so that it's not CNN. It's here's what's going on with the Audubon Society. Here's what's going on with any number of other sources. So they get the news they want, as opposed to just being bombarded with news that could be pretty depressing. And then, of course, things that help us relax. Zen Garden is just one of many that's out there that can help you when it comes to relaxing. I think a lot of times we don't pay attention to how much stress somebody may be feeling in their life. So, paying attention to that. Who wants to talk about this one?
This is a great one. It's called Breathe to Relax. And so the image up here shows just kind of some serene trees and the word exhale, and it's in small type font, but it says 7.20 seconds exhale. So it actually gives you time, and it teaches you how to breathe and just to help you relax, and lots of different patterns that you can follow. So it's a pretty cool one to check out.
Very good. All right. So we have just a few other things, and then we're going to be wrapping it up. Has this been helpful so far? Informative? Did anybody learn anything so far? Okay. Has anybody not learned anything yet? Okay. All right. So telepresence.
This is one of many. This is called the Kubi. We love this. It sits on a table, and what you can do is it works off of Wi-Fi, and you can hook it up with, it's kind of like Skype or FaceTime on steroids is how we like to say it. From a remote location, you can actually tap into this and control the Kubi by having it go in 360 degrees. It could go up and down. So if you wanted to, have breakfast with your mom, or check and see how things are going at home, or make sure that the medications are taken on the counter, you have the ability to scan the room from a remote location, while also having that connection with the individual that you would like to be with. And also, we can see great presence as far as telepresence goes in the school systems. There's so many different ways that we feel that would be beneficial to individuals to, again, be able to be somewhere remotely. So we also have, I'm going to pass this around, this is really exciting. We also have the Vigo, as well as, I don't know if you guys have seen the Double. The Double is kind of like a Segway, which is really cool. I know it's been on a couple of TV shows, so it's kind of getting out into general, media and so forth. It was on a couple TV shows, and it's really cool because you can raise up it's a face. Sorry, it's an iPad that sits on somewhat like a Segway, and you can control the stick that raises and lowers. And again, being able to be in a different location and kind of Skyping in, FaceTiming in, which is really cool.
I actually used the Kubi with my mom when I would travel, and I would be able to interact with her. And once again, it helped ease my stress so that I could, have breakfast with her and check things out. The Vigo, do you want to talk about that for just a minute?
Yes.
And if there's a slide back here where Liz is featured on it, which is cool. This is on their website.
I'm famous. So Vigo, Vigo I absolutely love. We have Vigo as well as the double and Kubi, obviously, in our AT lab. Vigo I was actually able to use for the first time 2 years ago. I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia and was in ICU in the hospital for about a week, and then obviously came home but needed to rest and not be out in the gross world with people coughing and sneezing and all sorts of stuff. And so at that time I was ready to get back to work, but needed to take it easy, and we had been talking about telepresence robots in our presentations and meeting with vendors for quite some time, and we acquired Vigo at that time. And I remember the first day that I connected, I was on for 6 hours, and I actually did a 3-hour presentation with Carolyn and Martha while on the Vigo. And just like we are up here, and I'm turning, looking out there, I'm smiling, and I'm giving social cues just as I am with you and all the presenters up here. I was doing the same thing with Vigo, which is really, really cool. So I was, I live in Alpharetta. I was at my home office in Alpharetta, pajama pants on the bottom, dressed up on top, and I was driving Vigo around the office as if I was there at the office. And I actually sat at my desk for a few minutes and went around the office and gave everyone hugs because I hadn't seen them in a while. So it's really, really innovative, incredible technology that's allowing folks to, as Carolyn said, stay off the fast track, ease fatigue, be able to work, off-site, flex schedules, hospitals. Lots of doctors are using it for doctor's visits as well too. So it's just really incredible technology.
Romo is actually a toy, is how it was, first introduced, and you can use it with a very small, like iTouch or what have you, $150-ish, something along those lines, but similar when it comes to that concept of telepresence. Limo Lift, my sister is a physical therapist, and she's actually been talking to a lot of her folks. She works with folks that are aging about sit up straight. Because you can create more issues with your breathing and all of that if you're not sitting up straight. As all of you sit up straight, which is great. Good job, team. And so what this does though is it's something that you can wear, and it'll actually remind you, oh, you need to sit up straight. Which is great. And so she's actually using this with some of her older adults, keeping them healthy and trying to keep them, active as long as possible. Also using things like Viper Smart Start, and that can help you find your car. That's once again one of those things that we're like, oh gosh, we got to take the keys away. They can't find their car, what have you. And this is one of those things. Whenever we go and talk to folks that are in senior centers, they're like, we need that one, because they want to keep driving or what have you. And you can unlock your car remotely, all of that stuff. There's a lot in that area of gaming, and Ben Jacobs is our specialist in this area. And so paying attention to that and how that can really help folks as they age. Gaming is incredibly important, and I think that a lot of times we underestimate how important that really is when it comes to staying active and our minds active, and thinking about what does that look like to be able to play games with your grandkids or what have you. My dad was playing games on the day he died with his 2-year-old grandson. So keeping in mind that we are more than just people who need to be dressed and fed, right? We want to have that social interaction. Environmental access, there's all kinds of great solutions, and Ben is actually the lead once again for our environmental controls lab, and so get in touch with him if you need more information about low-cost solutions that are out there, and also some of the trends that we see. What questions do you have for us today? We do hope this was helpful, and we sure do appreciate the invitation. So what questions do you have? Yes, Tracy.
I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about your app. What do you call
Finder,
it?
the app Finder.
In terms of what you document and what kinds of searches.
Sure, absolutely. So the App Finder, we created that in 2007. If anybody's paying attention to what happened that year, that is actually when the explosion happened. The iPhone and all of those things started entering the market. So we were way ahead of the game. It's the only one that's out there that actually searches across disabilities. It's not just focused on autism or aging or vision. You can go there and see. Ben's our lead for that. And Ben, do you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the TFL App Finder database, it's not only across all disabilities, but also all platforms. So you'll find Android and iOS and applications on there. And of course, they're not all just free or paid or anything like that. There's a whole range of applications. So you can go on there. You can search by platform. You can search by what disability you're looking for help with. And then there's other information in there as far as what the limitations are of it. So if the buttons on the application are too small for someone with low vision, that's noted on there as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
We try to keep it up to date.
Yes.
Android, we have to go through and update the applications manually, but the iTunes app store, they update automatically, so those are always updated.
Yeah. I still remember the day when Martha's like, hey, I think this, is going to be a big deal, these apps, right? And we were at lunch, and so basically drew out an idea around this app finder, and sure enough, I'm so glad that she had that idea because it really has helped. The big thing is we don't want it to be the 2.5 million apps out there. We want it to be the 5 best for reading and the 6 best for environmental control. We want it's under 1,000 apps that are in there, and that's our goal, is not to be big. This is where little really makes a difference. So, what else? What other questions? Yes,
So
Brian.
For those apps, are you buying all of them to test them, or what? How are they buying?
Yes, we do buy a lot of them and test them. We also have a network of folks around the country that send us apps that they have vetted, and we have folks that are contacting us often that are developing apps, and they're like, okay, I developed this app, what do you think? We're working on, actually, I was just doing some work in Oregon, and there's a group of us that got together to look at accessibility around apps, and then also come up with kind of a basic checklist of what does this look like to have, to say it was vetted. What does that even mean? And so working on some of those things. So we want to make sure that we have some type of, and I'm putting this in air quote, standards of what actually ends up in the database, and buyer beware for those that were like, yep, this one doesn't work with VoiceOver, but it's still a good app, that kind of thing. Yes?
So that's the app level, and then if we move back to the tablet or the 14,000 or 3 tablets, depending on what the number is there something that, how do you make those suggestions? So is there the equivalent that you do for apps, but for the 14,000 tablets
So
exist?
there's, once again, national network of folks. There's a group out there at the University of New Hampshire that has actually done a grid, and they're like, okay, it's a decision tree, if you will, of what is it you're trying to accomplish with this, and then working backwards to what tablet family you need to be looking at, whether we're talking Android, whether we're talking Microsoft, whether we're talking even BlackBerry still, or as an iOS, type device, and then working backwards to that. What size do you need? What's the functional capabilities? What's the landscape got to be? Are you one that's going to drop things easily? Those types of things. So really working our way through it. So, and Ben, yes?
Yeah, I just want to mention with that, a lot of times, because there are so many different tablets and so many different form factors, and they're always coming out with new ones that generally, when someone's looking for a tablet and we're dealing with them on a one-on-one basis, we don't have like an automated grid or anything like that for Tools for Life. Other network partners do, but the way I usually go about it is just looking through what features they need and then just trying to match that up with whatever tablets are out there. So,
Or you could look at the apps you want and then which tablet will support those.
Right.
And then you can go to size from there.
Exactly.
And then a case for dropping.
If
And
Right.
you're talking about between Android and iOS, yeah, definitely we do that.
We even look at, is the person going to be able to charge this independently? What are the battery, how do we do that? If they have fine motor skill issues, plugging in can be a mess, those types of things. And what are the other solutions around that?
Are there adapters around the plug-in?
Yes.
So it's like to help you line up?
Yes.
Those exist?
Yes, they do exist. It's more like onesie twosie, kind of, hey, I created this in my basement type of thing, but yeah, there are some that are out there. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so, the other opportunity, any other questions? Yes.
With the, I guess the lending library, are you ever able to check those devices out and try them in your home?
Yes, you sure can. As a matter of fact, that's what the Linden Library is all about. You can borrow the equipment, you can check it out. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You can call us or email us or schedule a time that we can meet, whether it's in our office or we can meet you somewhere. You basically give us things that you're looking for, and we can try to match up what it is with the different technologies. A lot of times we'll actually, you might come in with a particular idea, and then we might have 3 other things to also show you. And so then you can have the opportunity to then borrow it, we'll demonstrate it, show how it works, show the features, and then you can decide if it's something that you think would be beneficial. You can then check it out like a library system and take it for however long, like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on the popularity of the item.
So very good. Thank you. One other opportunity that I want to make sure y'all are aware of, we did get a grant this year where we're going to be looking at creating a flow chart or a checklist of what technology considerations do you need to keep in mind when somebody's trying to age in place or somebody's trying to transition back into the nursing home. If you are interested in being in that conversation, we're going to be hosting a meeting, and we're going to be really having this very focused dialogue about that. We'll have folks from around the country join us, and if you're interested in that, get in touch with Rachel, and she's our lead for creating that tool. I could see this tool actually becoming like the foundation for a more interactive, perhaps app or database or what have you. So it really has been an honor being with y'all. Thank you for the invitation. Do hope this was helpful, and thank you, Liz and Rachel and the Tools for Life team, Danny and Martha, who's not with us right now, and Ben, of course. So thank you very much.